computer.
Oh,
Be
here,
able to get
record.
the
Okay.
recording off of this machine here.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Daniel?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you
Yes.
hear us?
Okay, yep, great.
Perfect. Sorry, I didn't mean to ignore you. I feel bad.
No, 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 no. You're
Uh,
busy.
you just have to move the door so that Mark's beautiful face doesn't get cut off. Because the camera's over there, so it's behind the door.
Oh,
Yeah. And then if you move that, you'll see that you can see the council.
All right, I'd like to welcome everyone to our regularly scheduled meeting for this evening at 6:30 p.m. And I'm gonna have Mark.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Present.
Alex, present. Daniel,
Present.
Mark,
Present.
Record show we have a good forum. Anyone has any cell phones or anything, if you can mute those or put them on silent, or not interrupted through the course of the meeting, that'd be wonderful. We have any amendments to the agenda, declaration of conflicts, or ex parte? Nope. Minutes from July 8th. An action item. You know, we had some discussions about some of the minutes.
Yeah, it's July, but July 8th, we're talking about, right? Oh, the 8th?
no, it's
Okay.
Did I say anything?
No, you said 8, but, that was 2 meetings ago, so that's it.
Well, we're doing these segments.
I reviewed the minutes from the regular council meeting on July 8th. 2025 at 6:30 p.m. and I can have change. So.
I'll second. I have a motion on the floor with a second. Do we need any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Jeff,
Right.
Alex, I, Daniel, Mark,
Staying, I wasn't at the meeting, but I assume it's.
With community before. We don't have an action item on this agenda for the 18th meetings. For the special meeting.
I apologize, I didn't know it was to be in person.
So table this for next month, if you would, so that we can improve them. And or maybe next month. Sense? Right, moving along. Next, Lakeview Trailer Park, we did have a discussion, we also had a meeting. During that meeting, there was a discussion with the litigants in the case that we were working on. They spoke pretty freely with us, I feel. We as a council listened to everything they had to say, and I kind of general consensus, and correct me if I'm wrong, we wanted to just table this and kind of see where things are headed. And really basically not make any decisions at this point. Is that kind of the gist of what everyone's opinion was?
I thought we weren't gonna make a decision at that last meeting, but they're. Consider a decision this week.
Okay. Well, the decision. I guess no decision is a decision based on the fact that we have been adjudicating the case, and it is settled at this point. We were just trying to figure out if we wanted to pursue
Bill,
Yes,
We
yeah.
can't hear you, and I've got my hearing aids in.
Hey, my mic's on. Let me see if I can find.
Those closer, yeah.
It's
Probably there.
air conditioner kind of interferes, right? Better.
So
Better.
the,
Do we want to,
we're still discussing right now.
I think we were all on the same page,
Right,
and I think, and I could be wrong about this, but I think that the decision was like, we wanted. The word is. They came up to sort of make their case,
right,
and if we wanted to be lenient, we could change course, or we could stay the course.
right.
And I think we were on the page just to stay the course and go through the phase system.
So no decision would get that accomplished. Just as efficiently as, probably more efficiently than pursuing other avenues.
Are we just waiting then for the court to enforce the judgment?
Well, it is attached to the lien on property. So as far as enforcement goes, that would be up to the city, the way I understand it. And that's going to probably involve a large arduous battle. So, my kind of feeling was, let this lay for now. Let them make their move, see where they're gonna go. And keep us out of a battle and us be in the bad guys. So,
So my understanding is that they made a proposal for, reducing a court judgment that's a legitimate court judgment that's somewhere in the range of 35,000. And they have asked to reduce that 3,000. Gave some reasons for that at the last meeting where they gave a presentation. And so the view that some of us have is that the proposal that they made and the reasoning that they gave, that it would not be in the best interest of the city or the citizens to accept that. So if we do nothing and that's the result, is we're saying we don't accept it, then I guess we don't need a resolution. But if we need a resolution that says we decline it, then that would be what we do here. So either way, getting to a point where we don't proceed with their proposal, what I would be favor of, how we accomplish that.
that's kind of what I was suggesting by just letting it lay at this point, because there's no sense in poking that bear, if you will. The way I understand it, week one, it's a done deal. It's up to them to make whatever steps they want to make to change that outcome. And if we start trying to enforce or trying to enforce that agreement that the judge handed down, we could potentially spend a fair amount of money to get that done, whereas if we were to let it lay, we're earning interest on the money, we're doing everything that we have been told to do at this point. So I don't see why we need to proceed any further. Am I incorrect on any of that?
Well, you know, in essence, we're rejecting their offer, as saying, thank you for your funding, appreciate your time. We respectfully reject your offer.
But do we need to send them a letter? Do we need to do something about that?
I'll just give their lawyer a call and say, the city council does not accept your offer and needs to for us to counter offer. Of course, the city council could say, you know what? Free's a little low and, but we'll take, 32, 31, 30. That's a counter offer.
Right, I understand. But by not doing anything at this point, are we jeopardizing our standing with the court?
No, in essence, we, literally the day the judge signed the judgment, I would reported it. It's a standing lien against the property, so, if and when they ever sell, that needs to be satisfied. And until that day happens, according to Title 28, Chapter 22, accrues interest at the judgment rate of interest plus 5%. So my understanding of the judgment rate of interest as of 2025 is 9 and change plus 5% is 14 and change. So that's a pretty good rate of interest. Yeah.
So the land in a hypothetical situations, let's just say, hey man, you got a judgment against me, I'm not paying. And then, let's say 5 years down the road, I'm gonna sell the property. That, the meter continues to keep running.
Until that judgment is satisfied.
Goodness gracious, okay.
So Kenzo, the language you used was that they rejected. Cut it off, which is language I.
Well, we can always say we don't accept it.
So, yeah, so if we
So
don't
it's the same-
accept
it's the
it,
same.
rejected, whatever language you wanna use. The question on the table here is, to arrive at that point, do we need any kind of, resolution, action, or do we just, say, okay, but what I don't wanna do is send a message that we're still considering it, because it would be the opposite.
All right, well, I mean, in that case, I don't think we need any formal papers or anything. I just say, the city is not going to accept, not going to accept is the same as rejection, but it's nicer. But they did come out, they did explain their position and why that, their offer was, they thought that it was attractive, but we're just not gonna buy on the road thing. But, I would say a motion to, respectfully decline their offer to a settlement. With no counter offer.
So we should have a motion.
Yeah, well, or, we can just do it administratively through the administration, and we've heard council thoughts, it's been discussed in a public meeting, I don't see a reason why we need to paper it more than it needs to be, but certainly with the council just vote, I think it makes it strong. We don't have that. All right, so, there it is, if the council's behind the administration, I'll let the mayor make the call, and we don't need that. Just respectfully decline on behalf of the city.
That's fine with me.
And if they challenge this, then next thing you do, next month, we note it as an action item and make a motion.
Okay.
All right.
Personnel policy. We've had, at my request, I have asked staff to get us copies of some local cities' policies, their manuals and the like. I guess what I wanted to do tonight was to kind of see where you guys are at on these. They have been emailed, right, to each of you. I think what I would like to see is a discussion about some of the positives and negatives that we've seen in those other policy manuals. And have to figure out, first of all, if this is the route we want to go. That's the first step we need to take. We'll spend a bunch of time and energy on developing a personal policy. And if you guys are in agreement to do that, then we will start every month probably with a few minutes attached to the meeting where we can edit and find things that we like or dislike and into those policies and kind of move forward. I realize that this is a very arduous, long task. I'm not prepared mentally or physically to tie up 5, 6, 7 hours of tying this up, so I'd like to see us do bites at a time. And tackle that. What else thoughts?
Yeah, there's a lot. I looked through policies and they were all very similar, covering the basics of what the ICRIM, the Idaho County's Risk Management Program, provided as a template. They addressed the items in that, and some of them are almost a copy of it really, and then just tweaked to match each individual city. So that seems like a smart way to go. It had a lot of legal items covered, whether you're a part-time or a full-time employee and so forth, and all the things you're entitled to or not entitled to. And yeah, it covers just about everything you can imagine a policy should cover. And being a small city, we don't have an HR officer. It often mentions contacting an HR officer. Well, we don't really have a designated person. So that'd be something we'd have to tweak or figure out for our city. How we want to handle that. I do think it's a good idea.
Okay. Other thoughts?
I have a bit of a contrary opinion. So we have 0 full-time. We have 2 part-time employees. These documents are 40 pages long. A lot of what's in the documents are reiterations of ordinances, state laws, and federal laws that are specified at the state level and federal. And so if you copy them into a city document, then you'll have to update them every time it changes, and it's rather redundant for a law that's already on the books for the state, or the county, or the federal government that already supersede the city laws anyway. So my view is that going through these 45-page documents and making edits is really not bringing any value to the city of Hauser. Possibly, I don't know what problem we're trying to solve. But what I did was I looked through it all, and I made a 1-page Hauser personnel policy. It's a draft. It can be changed. There's things I missed. We could add a couple lines, but I didn't put anything in there about laws that are already covered at the state level. Didn't put anything in about laws at the federal level, except that the city is committed to following it. That way you don't have to be redundant or worried about changing. And then as far as employees are concerned, good practice is that employees, when they're hired, they get an offer letter. Their benefits, their pay are defined in the offer letter. That's a written record of what their employment entails and what benefits they get or don't get. And then at any time where their pay is changed or their benefits are changed, then they should get a letter indicating what's changed. And then each individual employee is covered. But I could pass this out, but I did make this 1-page thing that basically says that all employees are at will to comply with state, federal, and city ordinances. City employees are required to carry out their jobs professionally, follow the city's code of conduct, things like that. And then their employee rights, that everybody has the rights granted by applicable law, that they have the right to receive the pay and benefits defined in the offer letter, and they have a right to receive an up-to-date copy of the city's code of conduct if it changes. They have the right to an up-to-date copy of the city's computer digital policies, and they have a written delineation of their job duties, their responsibilities. Everybody should have that, and an annual performance assessment. And that's all on 1 page. So maybe Kenzo knows there's some legal reasons to go far beyond that. Maybe it's too simple, but for a city of our size and for the employment base that we have, it seems like a pretty simple policy should do us for your future.
Yeah, I didn't go to take the initiative to make a 1-page document, which I really appreciate, but I kind of had similar thoughts where we don't want to be an ad hoc organization, because I've worked with plenty of those and it's not a lot of fun. So I'm sure the clerks would appreciate some structure. I just don't think it needs to be a huge long document. It would be great to know, like, the clerks are hoping to get out of it, and for sure facilitate that. We are a small town. Our meetings are pretty informal. as a lot of city council meetings go, and I think that we should just have a phone conversation with the clerks on what they would like to see, which I'm assuming, but I don't know, is something like a holiday policy, time off policy, so you don't have to have this awkward conversations. I have to have this awkward conversations where I work, it's not fun. If we just have that written down on simply on like a document like this, just to augment this with just whatever the clerks are looking for. I think it's a much more small town way, that's a lot cheaper and less intense to accomplish whatever our goals actually are. Policy. Without dumping hours and hours on push, probably means lots of things those times, you don't need to spend, But, it would be good to know what liabilities the cities would face by not having a policy or by having a policy too. We don't.
You don't know.
Well, I know if you have a policy, you have to follow it. Certainly. Liabilities for having a policy. But there's also, certainty, people want to know certainty in their jobs. What they're entitled to, what they're not entitled to. Kind of where that is.
I think laying that out would be helpful for the clerks, it'd be helpful for council, and I just think that'd be good, but that might be a conversation. I'm gonna have a Bill maybe.
That would be probably my seeing exactly what people want, but kind of where the administration's willing to go and where the middle point is, somewhere between the two, if they don't already overlap. There might be things that just are totally good with the administration and that aren't a problem, and then in that case, if there's that understanding, then maybe we don't need a policy. There's, a lot of times, people do business on handshake.
And I don't want to do it on a handshake for a city,
No, I get it.
But we can keep it simple, I think, maybe a policy page. Because we're never, hopefully, in my opinion, we'll never have an HR department. And we can just keep it on kind of like a, more small town, but make sure the administration and employees know what's expected and know what they're entitled to, not as you said.
But I think the kind of a one-page understanding is good. I know the administration has previously put forth, kind of a letter of expectations with prior clerks and clerk. But I think it's one of those things where the more simple it is, the easier it is for everybody. That's just my 2 cents. And if it can be worked out at the lowest level possible, it gets worked out. But this certainly isn't a city where, we have a dozen, 2 dozen, couple hundred employees full time. We don't have any employees. And so certainly policy manuals are a very big investment in time. And then specifically tailored to each individual organization. So as much as I like sending big fat bills, I don't know if it really is needed here. But I would encourage perhaps the administration staff to have those conversations. I know most of the city employees are contract, like myself, like Lee, city engineer, Cindy, we're all contracts, so there are no real, quote unquote benefits or things we have to negotiate out, because I have a retention agreement with the city. I'm sure Cindy has a contract. I'm sure Lee I know Lee has a contract. I had to look that over a couple of years ago. And those kind of rights and responsibilities are spelled out by contract. But for the employees that perhaps don't have a contract, I don't know. This is kind of the first you know, I saw it on the agenda. I didn't know really kind of what was going on. It's not an action item, so. I didn't put a lot of time and effort into, putting a lot of thought into it, but. You know, my 2 cents is, if you have a personnel policy manual, you have to follow it. If I recall right, the city broached this topic a couple of years ago. I put a couple hours into the review of one and really didn't go anywhere because we didn't have enough, we didn't have employees. We didn't have that. Right.
I think it's valuable that all of the laws, as you stated, there's codes that any city has to follow, to have those available to the employees, just so they know what is out there. I thought that was really valuable in the iCrimp one and the other cities that just copied the iCrimp one, basically. But it states all these different codes that cities have to follow. And so, I mean, I think it's valuable for clerks to know that too.
One thing that we haven't done in a couple of years is actual ICRIM training. Really, like laws. You know, maybe we have, you know, request ICRIM, because they're very good at coming out. And at requests and giving those trainings to council, to staff, to whoever wants them. And also the annual meeting and semi-annual. So far.
Whichever you can for those, right?
So, you know, if that's an issue, I can certainly reach out to ICRIP and see if they're, just tell them, the mayor, I was talking to him today. I have a very clear line of communication, if that's something the council wants. Training, it's also good just to get, you know, the employer, and also, you know, like sexual harassment and, you know, all the other type of trainings that normally are attended with a larger organization was to be done. We haven't done one of those, I want to say 2 or 3 years. So
Yeah.
I think you were in for at least.
I've never.
You've never been.
I've been here since November.
So yeah, 4 years, so. You know, maybe that's at least a starting point on what we do.
Offer them online as well.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the online trainings, I don't, if you just don't get the same effect as an in-person training, but that's my 2 cents. Since I was asked whether I just gave it. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you. No, I'm with Mark with the animal and keep it simple, but need something.
All right, well, I will proceed with that. Kind of how do I say, recommendation from you guys. Let's set up a meeting for 3 of us. We can kind of get what you guys would like to see in there. And if you want to kind of get a hold of my group, see what they have to say and how big they are and whatnot. Let's get some set up for that. Because obviously we need to look at them.
Is it a paid training?
No, they usually do it for free, it's just,
And
yeah, you know, of course you pay for staff time to attend,
But it's not the money, that's all I was asking.
yeah, ICRIM doesn't charge for the trade. The way ICRIM looks at it is, you know, an ounce of prevention is worth
Yeah.
a pound of cure, and it's more information people have, the better, and they'd rather send their staff out, pay their staff time than defend a lawsuit.
they have folks that are hired to just that, so. All right, moving along, next item's an action item, it's our obsolete printers. Last month, as you recall, I asked for an actual list of what those printers are. They are listed here on the packet. Epson ET 3850 and the HP Office Jet Pro X 47 476 BW. I would certainly entertain a motion to surplus those items and have them be destroyed.
Are they sold off or destroyed?
They're gonna actually probably be given away to, whatever organization, yeah, TBI. He said, honestly, he said one of them, I'm just gonna check it with them, because it's so bad. And so the other one, he's gonna try to see about, he's gotta go through and write them out first and make sure they're all clean. But he said after that, he says one of them is not worth sending the second, then I don't know which one he's switching to. Either way, we still have to have permission to surplus them, take them off our records.
All right, I'll make a motion to retire the approximate surplus office printers. And should I list them? Okay, one being, an Epson ET 3850 and an HP Office Jet Pro X 476 DW.
I'll second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Jeff,
I
Alex, I, Daniel.
Aye.
Mark.
I will let Rick know that those are ready to go. Hauser City Park plan. I know we've talked about this several times. Kind of trying to figure out again what the consensus is. Do we want to put the money from the city into this, hire an engineer, go through all that? We've already done the survey twice, so that part of it is done. I know that this is something that we've talked about, this has been a dream of mine since I started on this council. But it's really nothing that I can do by myself. So I guess what I'm looking for here is, do we feel as a council this is worth pursuing? Because if not, I'll just let it go. But I need to have some direction from the council before I write it off or before we start. We can push it this over.
So what survey was this? It's like a survey of county or city land money?
It is the land down at the end of Second Street,
Oh,
so that we can figure out, which we've already figured out a couple times. Kenzo and I went down there and found a bunch of property, found a bunch of crap that was on the property after one of the surveys. And met the gentleman that lives right there, it was rather pointed with us and we helped educate him as to where we were at with this. And this was gonna be took his shotgun and then where we were up. So, yeah.
so where is this?
Basically just on the other side of the village. There is a road that we own the property already. It goes right to the swampland, if you will. It's a dead end gravel road at this point. Talked about developing that and making it a lake access that does not have a boat ramp. But it's basically guys with kayaks or pedal boards or whatever that could just have access to them with not having to go fight down at the boat ramp. It would be open to the public. Some of the concerns that I've been told, parking. There's really not a lot of room for parking. Understand that. One of the rough drawings we did come up with was a hammerhead, no, what was it called? I forget, hammerhead. In essence, it's a T street. This one comes in and then there's parking on this side and on this side and a couple of benches. We even went as far as to have a drawing roughly done. Cindy had one of her engineer friends and blast them together. Which he did gracefully. Again, it wasn't anything official, wasn't anything formal. It was just kind of, hey, here's a concept, what do you think? But there kind of just died. So if you guys are thinking we need to let it die, I will never bring it up again. And we will go forward with our business and other things.
Did anybody make any, variable cost estimate? I mean, I assume you have to do some road work and put it at dog.
We're trying to avoid the dock portion of it just because of the expense and the Corps of Engineers that had to be involved with all of that. I was thinking more along the lines of a gravel pathway to get us from here to there. If we laid down the road, we wanted to improve it and put a pier type dock system in, so that you can access it at high water and low water. I could certainly see something like that coming, but that wasn't included in our initial ideas. But I think that the ground pathway from here to there would probably suffice for now. I would like to get that into the street improved so that people that live nearby understand it's not necessarily things.
Harlan does a pretty good job.
She does a very good job, but that's really not her job, so she's just.
I know there's a lot of very, you either hate it or you love it in the village. I've talked to a number of my neighbors in the village. And some of us would love to see something that was to make it easier to launch your kayak. You can launch it now, but you're gonna sink into the mud pretty deep. And a lot of others are, a few others just want to make it an official conservation area. We do believe that neighbor is encroaching on the city land, and that's just gonna be the easiest way to protect what's currently a wetland, basically. And then a lot of people are not for it at all, because they don't want to see the village become the same story as what's happening there. So just from, the residents that are living there, I can tell you there's a lot of very mixed feelings about that. There's a number of people that would like to see it improved in some way. But since the city can't really gate it to the public land, they don't want to see it improved in such a way that's very inviting. If that makes sense, so not a whole bunch of people really there. I would love to see this, like I share your dream for Hauser to have a park somewhere. We offer next to those services. Land use is actually a huge service that people in there should. But beyond that, we don't really offer any other service. And some kind of city park where you can enjoy the area that we have. I think it's definitely something council should keep in mind, even if it's not for years to come. But it should be a goal for us. I'm not convinced that Lake Street is the right place for that.
And the reason that I picked Lake Street was number one, because we already own the property. We don't own any other property on the lake anywhere. They don't make new dirt on lakes. And so it's going to be next to impossible for us as a city to acquire that unless something, major happens. I can't imagine what that would be, but it would have to be a pretty big deal for someone to be willing to donate or make available for us to purchase somehow. Then you have that money involved and everything else. So that's the reason I picked that. I just thought it would be a great idea to have some way for our citizens to, because I'm on the water quite a bit. And there's a ton of kayaks out there, and paddle boards and all those personal watercraft techniques. That I thought, well, if they don't have to hassle with them down there, it would be a nice thing. So.
So I got a question on the gravel entry. You said you wanted to avoid the Army Corps of Engineers for a dog. What can you do in that swamp area? Can you make a gravel road going out into it?
It wouldn't necessarily be a road. I'm thinking more like a 4-foot type path that leads probably right up to the high water mark.
Do you need permits? Oh, you could only go to the high water mark.
Well, without permission from that and state of Idaho and everybody else. Which we contacted all of them. We've never presented them with any of that. They just said, yeah, they want their hat in the ring so that they can level up our plan, but that's their job. So I appreciate that. Again, that's just an idea I have. It's not anything that's written in stone anywhere. Maybe it has to be a grass path. I don't know. But in my mind, I picture just a gravel wide path that leads out. There are ways that you can jump in little kayaks and where you go. So if it has to be grass or sand or whatever, then I don't know. So.
Usually specify the material. I have built them before. Spokane County, on the little Spokane River, and they're very. You're just, it's like an engineered soil. That's what it is. And this is what you have to put in, and, you know, make you do it. And, you know, you go back 3 years later, and it's like, and then like anything happened. But back to this, I think we should continue to keep pursuing it. Just, the park plan, because we need some more, we need that. And that there's a lot, I'm with Daniel too, you know, there's a lot of issues, with the issues with people parking, and there's, but I think we can work all of that out, you know, because it's gonna take a lot. We're gonna need, you know, prints and whatnot that we have to present to people and say, hey, this is what we got, this is what we got. But I say we should continue to keep pursuing.
Well, and it'd be helpful to have at least a plot map of what is possible, because my understanding is Mr. Monroe owns property on both sides of Lake William. So I don't even know where you put points in parking lot in that area, because he makes a statement about owning both parts of that, because he dumps all this junk on the other side.
Exactly.
So I don't know if this is feasible from a legal point of view, Benzo, but even if even if the villagers just got permission from the city to donate things like a fence along the survey line, I'm sure we will do it up in the charge of the city.
The city certainly has a right of what's known as eminent domain, but knowing the property owner, I would expect a fairly robust challenge to the eminent domain taking, and how that property is worth $6 gazillion with all the junk on it. The attendant court hearing is necessary. Condemning part is you're taking private property for public use, and so the property owner says, you say, all right, well, we're gonna give you 20, 30, 40 grand for, you know, this strip of property so we can make a public parking lot, private property for public use.
I don't see us going down that road, but that's unfortunate, since we already own this.
Well, we own that strip, but we don't own, you know, a lot of
I
that strip.
think if we take back what is already ours, I think it'll be pleasant surprise how that is.
That would be a great surprise to have. I don't know, if the council's okay with that, I would kind of want to table this till next month, and I would be happy to talk to the neighbors to get a general idea of what home owners do and what's general sensibilities. You
I
know,
think we're putting all of our eggs in one basket by asking just the village, because what about the rest of the city? Granted, this
I don't
village
look
is
at
gonna, granted, the village is gonna take, how do I say, they're gonna have.
it is our yard
but
that will have the.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, you're gonna get people parking people's lawns and, you know, alleging, you know, right away parking rights, and,
Yeah.
you know, it's gonna be.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's gonna be, there's
And-
other bugs to work out.
And there's gonna be
Still some
90% of
people-
Washington plates down there and like 3 Idaho plates, just like it is. Over at the boat.
I know.
Tell you a story, I mean, just like Bill, I'm on the water 3, 4, 5 days a week. And I see the most curious things ever down at the boat ramp. And it is never Hauser resident. But we'll leave it at that.
We'd like to see the city claim the land from people that are encroaching on it and dumping junk on it. I would like that to stop. At least.
Yeah.
If we can make a park there, great, but yeah, there's so many things to consider. Definitely. Okay, worth discussing if you want.
Next up is Cindy.
So, well, before we do that, if you want, I can, spend a little time and talk to the Department of Lands, figure out what you have to do with that, and I could look at the plot and see how much. Just
Yeah.
give us our opinion, but.
Might be a little.
The city,
premature.
the city has zoning authority and development authority up to the high water. Below the high water mark, it's Idaho Department of Lands. Don't get action.
So let's kind of get, before we jump in that far, and see what we're gonna land, what they get. Because we've done it once. All right, Cindy is up. We didn't see her on the deal.
I thought she said she was on.
She did. Sorry. All right, Treasurer Lee, you're up.
To get resituated here. Give me one moment. Okay, treasurer's report for period ending through July 31st, 2025. Bank accounts altogether ending at just under $914,000. The general fund account has just over $196,000 in it. Moving on to the profit and loss statement. Few things to note. Still waiting on some revenue to come in for the year, which is typically late, which is the highway fund revenue and the revenue sharing revenue as well. A couple of those are pending our submittals of our prior period financial statements, which Alpine CPAs just sent those out today. They've been signed and finalized, but those have been sent out and ready to be filed. So that's great news. Other than that, on revenue side, still looking at the same building permit revenue down significantly compared to what was budgeted. But that ties in also with the cost associated. So the net effect on the year end will not be drastic. Other than that, one other big item that came in that I was not aware of until just this last week or so, there was about, I think it was about $4,000 or $5,000 worth of IT computer services. I believe that was for all the work done on the servers, which I was not aware of, but I guess that ended up being fairly significant. That was all approved by council, but you'll see that's on the IT computer services line. So what we've spent is $7,500, but only budgeted $1,250. Other than that, that's all that really stands out to me, and I'll open it up to questions from anyone.
Lee, I think you probably told us this before, but I mean, you have a significant amount of interest because we're carrying a good bank balance, so interest is 2186 through July. But there's also this bank charge fee of $834. Can you remind us what that's for?
That is to maintain those high interest accounts.
What does that
So that means I'd have to get you the exact date that we moved the funds. The funds were sitting in accounts gaining no interest. So I had made that move a while back. I can't remember exactly when. It's probably been in there for most of this year, if not all of it, most of this year. In doing so, those two high interest earning accounts added a $40 fee to them. But the net effect of that far outweighs that $40 fee.
per month? So we're getting $80 per month?
Correct. We are spending $80 per month.
$80 a month to get whatever, $800.
Exactly.
1,000 or so, I think, a month.
All right, thank you.
And then maybe this is a silly question. I know you already touched on this, Lee, but it looks like we're 3/4 of the way through the year, but we're 50% off of our budget. Is there just like a big lump
Of revenue, or what are you talking about? Expenses or revenue?
for total income?
Okay, yep, revenue.
Yeah.
So 30,000 of that is made up in the building permits, which we're aware of. 46,000 of that is the Idaho revenue sharing, which we have not received, which will come after I can get the financial statements filed that were just completed. And I believe that's the same situation with oh no, it's not the same situation with the highway funds. Those should come later on in the year.
Okay, so that's roughly 76,000 that we're expecting. That makes up most of the 85,000 that we're short. And then I guess that difference of
The
whatever.
20,000 would be in the highway fund revenue.
And that'll make up the, so I mean, I guess my question is basically, are we expected to get to our budgeted revenue for this year? Or are we expecting a pretty sharp, decrease?
I would expect the decrease to just lie in the building permits.
But we have 30,000 that is coming in that just hasn't been, it doesn't appear yet, right?
For building permits, no, that we are significantly less this year, because building is far less so far. I would not anticipate those funds coming in
So-
unless Cindy has communicated she doesn't have much on the docket coming down the pipe.
So we're not gonna be 30 grand full, because we do have some building and roofs and all those things. So it might be like 15.
Yeah, and on the revenue side, it doesn't all fall to the bottom line because the payments to the subcontractors for inspections and so forth go down as well.
Exactly.
So it's about a $10,000 hit to the bottom line.
Yep.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Lee on that portion? All right, Lee, you want to talk about the proposed budget thing real quick?
Sure. I've made the changes that were suggested. Let me pull that up. There weren't many. Let me pull up the items that were edited. So the notes that I had from, I think I only received from Bill were iCrimp. So the insurance is already in there. We put the IT computer up 2,000, sorry. Same with web and internet, 2,500. Donations, 1,000. I kept that in the miscellaneous since there's already some funds budgeted in there. And then I bumped up the staff costs slightly for a 3% COLA raise. And that's just compared to the original file that was sent out last month.
So did you get I sent out an email, I'm starting to realize maybe you didn't get it, but Cindy has been making the same amount since 2011. And her workload has increased and effective purchasing power has decreased, obviously, since that time. Is it too late to try to budget whatever we end up landing on, if we don't know anything, is it too late to include some way to compensate her for the work she's done?
She hasn't done that. She's okay.
I don't really have any other questions.
So Lee, I did have one question. So we had this $10,000 that was designated as city projects, which was really just the reserved for the unspent revenue. With the changes that you made with the list you got from Bill that we put together in the last meeting, what did that $10,000 change to? Did that go down a little bit?
What line specifically? The project reserve line?
Yeah.
That's now with the proposed budget, the one that's been posted in the paper twice, is at $20,400.
I
I mean,
thought it was 10 before. I don't know how it went up.
let me pull up my previous version. Give me a moment. It was at $33,100 previously. Unless we're talking about a different line. Are you talking about the row that was highlighted yellow?
No. No, I'm talking about a different line, and it's $10,000, which was for city projects.
What projects? I didn't catch that.
I think it was said something like city project, community improvement. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, it's 605. Yeah, community improvement. It was at 10,000, and I assume that when you made these other changes, it bumped a few up.
That is not the plug. That is not the plug number. It's up a few lines in the project reserves.
Oh, it's that 33,000 number that is not to it.
Yep, exactly.
In the past, did we ever support the watershed coalition? In specific council? Well, back when watershed coalition was.
Oh, I was gonna say, cause
I think dissolved in 2018.
I don't remember doing that, but it doesn't mean that. But
Is the what was that line we were just talking about? It was 20,000. What's it called? Yeah.
Project reserves.
Project reserves could go toward things like testing water health, possibly for the rate, if we wanted to. Is that my understanding?
Yep, that's my understanding. Yep.
I was just checking.
Well, the water quality, we don't have authority to test water in the lake. Our city boundaries don't. There's provision of law lets us extend our boundaries into the lake. But we've never done that. So our basically city authority ends at the high water mark of the lake. After that, it's IDQ, Department of Lands, perhaps EPA. Well, there's a lot of changes through what's known as primacy and all kinds of other things that kind of went down in 2016-ish. Where Idaho took what's known as primacy over from EPA. And so a lot of that is Idaho state. So we don't have authority below the high water. So testing water quality, I mean, I don't think there's anything illegal if we did it, but I don't think we have.
That was most of my question.
Yeah,
I know it's jurisdiction.
Yeah, we don't have jurisdiction for it. But the council could always extend boundaries, so I think that's something I know the administration has talked about a couple times, but we've never. And there's pros and cons of doing it. So I want to say Post Falls did it at one point and is now kind of regretting it. So.
any other questions for me? I would certainly entertain the motion to accept today's report for the month of give it a job.
I'll move to accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
I have a motion and second, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Jeff,
Aye.
Alan, I, Daniel, Mark.
Aye.
Thank you, Lee.
Are we going in to approve? Hold on a second. Maybe there was a miscommunication. Are we set to approve the budget, or are we doing that after the meeting?
Are you talking about the changes that we made or?
Yeah, I think we need to have I think there needs to be a vote to approve the budget.
Actual budget?
Not listed as an action item, but it needs to occur. If somebody wants to amend the agenda on the basis of emergency to comply with state law, I think that would be reasonably defendable.
Well, we have an action item, but it's kind of in the middle of two different things, so it looks like.
And we filed the budget hearing notification back in February, I believe, for tonight for this time and meeting.
Unless it's challenged within 30 stands, but I don't see a reason that budget can't get amended to approve the budget, you know, from the July 18th workshop as discussed.
I originally thought that was the action item to approve the budget. But it looks like actually this is the action item to approve the minutes.
Yeah,
That's correct.
well, based on clerical.
That we
error.
didn't do.
Yeah, I thought it was also, we just need to make a motion to amend the agenda
Right,
to.
cover approval of the budget. I mean, to me, it looks like, you know, a simple clerical. Administrative.
So certainly entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion
Amend the agenda,
to do an emergency amendment to the agenda to,
you know, correct the clerical error,
to correct
comply,
clerical error.
comply with state law.
so that we can comply with state law.
I'll second that motion.
We have that reading.
Yeah, my apology for not catching it too, it looked like it was.
That's right, I read it.
Yeah, so. I think it gave fair notice.
Right, so we should put that right. All right, having a motion in a second. Table. Did you second?
But Sean should.
I did.
Oh,
Okay.
Jeff.
All right. Roll call, please.
Aye.
Alex,
I,
Daniel,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Let the record show that the amendment or the agenda has been amended. And now I would certainly entertain a motion to accept the preliminary budget review from our July 18th workshop, which was here. We've already posted it 2 times, right, Lee?
Yes.
I will move to approve the budget from the workshop. And as reviewed by the.
I'll second that.
Yeah, in the document that was published, this proposed budget for fiscal year 2025 to 2026, City of Hauser.
I'll second this.
Having a motion and a second on the floor, further discussion. Roll call, please.
Jeff,
Aye.
Alex, I, Daniel,
Aye.
Mark.
Thank you for catching that, Lee.
Yep, absolutely.
Anything else?
Nothing from me.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, council members and staff, Jeff.
I don't really have much other than the road construction with the traffic lights down there. It's better, but
Way better.
I'll tell you what, be careful, man, because I could start a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Near crashes and stuff people are pulling. Turning U-turns into the highway to beat a traffic light, you know, I mean, it's silly. But I did see justice served the other day, I was coming back from the transfer station. Got in a big line on Prairie, you know, waiting for the traffic light, a train came. A guy behind me on a motorcycle had enough, he went out and around and was gonna go on Beckwell. In front of a couple semis was a Kootenai County sheriff. We went across the pylons there, and he gave him the talking to, you know, and he got pulled over and I'm thinking, good, you know. But no, it's a lot of people I talk to, they say it's better. But just be careful because Champion has had to put up barricades, so people are just, they're driving down the railroad right away. I mean, I've seen everything, it's crazy, but it's better than it was, be careful. That's it.
Okay. Sir, Alice.
no, nothing tonight.
Daniel.
I'm gonna make this, like, I mean, all of these things are just for the purpose of getting council's signature on some of these items, you know, do you guys think? But, you know, we have 2 city clerks that are doing a good job, but I think training would be helpful for them in a lot of the cases. And actually Cindy would be a great person for them to talk to because she has a lot of specialized knowledge on the city of Hauser specifically. She's been around, she knows a lot of the quirks. And it might help Cindy and the folks work better together. We were able to give them some clerks, I mean, we give the clerks more training, probably from Cindy herself. I don't know what council's thoughts are on something like that. I mean, it would mean increased hours for Cindy, but I think it would help the city avoid potential expensive mistakes and maybe just run more efficient. Just
I can certainly contact Cindy and see if she's willing to help us with that.
I agree that training would be helpful, and it's probably a very good idea, but I think it's important to identify what the end result that we're looking for of the training would be, so that we can make sure that we're training the highest priority, highest benefit areas. So I think first we need to identify what are the opportunities. Maybe Cindy can help with that as well. But we can identify what training would be most effective, and we can decide how much training, what areas they should be.
I mean, that sounds good. That's basically all I have to say on that. And then, the comp plan, had the privilege of sitting in on some of the P and Z meetings that go over the comp plan, which has been fun. They seem like they're making a lot of progress. But I guess I'm interested on if the council is interested reviewing the progress from the consultant directly, since the council hired the consultant gave us a list of deliverables and schedule for those deliverables that we haven't been able to keep up on. And it's just like a temperature check. So I think within a few months, the comp plan will be ready to come to us to review. And it's probably worth touching base before we see something for the first time.
I would recommend not doing that. The only reason being is this body is the reviewing agency for the P and Z for what's coming through.
Right, so we are acting in the legislative capacity there, and consultants do check in with other city councils.
So I understand that. I mean, maybe on a like budget deliverable. The reason being is things kind of get meshed when that happens. And you certainly don't want to go through a comp plan process to have that set aside because in some way that the process was taken. Certainly, are you on budget? Where are the deliverables? But when you start getting into content, that is where you're going to run into trouble because it's the content of the report that you are really approving, or giving the thumbs up, thumbs down, or send it back for more work. But when we start talking about deliverables, when we start talking about budget, people start talking about content, right? Well, we went over budget here because there was this issue on the creek that flows into the lake, and we didn't want development over there, so we had to go back, and that's where you get into the overlap of the content, right? Will somebody challenge it? Probably not, probably low. But if they did, then you just did a lot of work for you. Well, not really nothing, but go back and do it again and do it right. That's going to be the remedy. Probably after some kind of lawsuit.
What ground we can challenge it? We're acting in a quasi-judicial sense, and there's a recommendation based on the city ordinances and zoning. And we don't act in that quasi-judicial sense. They can say, hey, you didn't act according to your own ordinances, and then challenge it. Well, but in this case, because it's a legislative case, they can't challenge it. I mean, the only things that we have to make sure the comp plan contains are those things that the state law mandates that does.
So here's the thing, a good lawyer will make anything legislative quasi-judicial, or vice versa. And it depends on whoever doesn't like the content of that comp plan, he's going to look for any hair's breadth of an opening to challenge it. Once they do, this was what said, this is what was decided, and in essence, the council was considering matters outside the record when they approved the comp plan, because we did this legislatively. If the council is concerned about that, maybe they could task the mayor, task me, task the staff, task somebody else to P and Z to give a report on where are we at with deliverables, where are we at on the budget.
I would be happy to, I mean, if that's, I don't know if council thinks, but I'd be happy to hit with P and Z too. We gave them a schedule,
Right,
and I just feel like we haven't managed it at all since it.
That's not our job. It's the job.
I mean, we did hire the consultant, you know, like, I don't know, even if it was just something touching base with P and Z. Briefly,
The last report that we had, DNC, was that we were behind schedule and, above budget. And it would be nice to know what the schedule milestones are in the agreed schedule, whether we're back on schedule, whether the spending, is in line with where we are on the schedule, which all can be reported by Cindy at the next meeting. Or by any other meetings that we want PNC to report, but I would like to know where we are. It's pretty fuzzy right now.
and that's fair, you know, where are we at on budget, where are we at on schedule? But where you get into it is the explanation of why. And the explanation of why usually goes into the content. And the content is what you guys are gonna be reviewing, approving, disapproving, or whatever, and that's where you wanna stay out of it.
Yeah, and maybe we can get them to stick to three items. What was the plan? Where are we against that plan? What was the budget? Where are we against that budget? And if we're behind, how are we gonna catch up?
Or what's the new anticipated spend? What's the new anticipated budget?
that would be.
That's fair, but usually when you're over budget and behind schedule, people want to give explanations. And that's where you're gonna run into trouble.
I thought it's interesting that we weren't necessarily over budget, but she said, based off of where they're at right now. And the ETA to have it done, it's gonna be really close, or we are gonna be over.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly her words, but it was something like we're 25% of the way through the work and 50% of the way through the money.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was.
Yeah, which left some room to catch up and to make some changes and so forth, but that was a long time ago that was reported, and it'd be nice to know where we are now.
I can certainly get hold of Cindy.
Do we need to avoid the conflict of interest?
That's my recommendation.
Okay. For the city ordinances, I mean, they are available online. You can go and find them. It's a little tricky to find them. And I guess I'm curious, like, is there a reason why we don't publish them on our website?
Usually there's a link. I've seen other cities have links to the website.
I mean, link to them, yeah.
That's really, you know, something to talk to the IT guy. Hey, put a link to city code on the website.
But there's no reason we couldn't link to it.
There, it's very common.
Okay.
I think we talked about this and let's take this for a while because we're just trying to figure out what we want on the website. Like times, the meetings.
We've gotten that.
And so we'll take that step and we'll get a link on there for those.
And then I guess lastly, you asked me to find out about YouTube, but YouTube has no. And then I'm just, what videos you can upload.
Is there, so help me. I don't know how to word this, but in my previous life, we had to keep documents and videos for a certain amount of times, for a certain amount of types of activities. For council meetings, is there a timeline of how long we have to keep those? And what happens if they go south? Lightning strikes their building or whatever happens, do they have everything backed up somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean. If YouTube and the internet goes down, then, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if the internet's gonna go down, but what I'm saying is if we have all of our eggs, our meetings in that basket and that somehow goes south. Do they have it over there and over there, or how does that work so that we can recall them? Because I know we have to have them for X amount of time.
I'm sure that, I mean, storing it on the cloud at this point is a lot safer than storing it on local servers. It's far more likely that something's gonna happen to Hauser than it is that something's going to happen to the business infrastructure. Because it's just such a big unit at this point. And they have backup system on backup system on backup system.
Okay.
It's very secure and in that sense, in terms of uptime.
Okay.
And I don't know what the law is, but how long people, is it years and.
So
I know they-
I know we have to keep anything related to land use development. In regard to. And you know, that's a big reason why we have meeting minutes, why we approve meeting minutes. Because we keep those.
Right.
As far as video, if we record videos, honest to God, I don't. Do you want me to look it up? I will.
Let's do that just to make sure that we're. Okay,
Consider myself in that.
Anyway.
because I don't want to get in, I don't want to get in a position where 5 years down the road. Just like Zoom, because Zoom said, oh yeah, you can keep it in forever until you're full, and now they're trying to charge us $17 gazillion.
But YouTube won't do that. And
We
YouTube,
hope,
no, they
because
won't.
Zoom wasn't gonna do that either. And here we are 2 years later and Zoom is doing it.
It's nice.
I don't matter who's what, I'm just telling you, in my experience. That when things happen, they happen drastically, and I don't want all my eggs. I love the idea, don't get me wrong. If someone's willing to put it out there and save it on the cloud or whatever you call it, great. I just don't wanna have us get in a position where we are now with Zoom, that we're over our quota. Or floppy disks or however many things we have to keep them doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I think that YouTube would solve that headache for you and just be a little more transparent, be a little easier to access. They just have a very different revenue model, but it's, you can't predict the future.
All right, anything else?
No.
Mark,
Nothing more from me.
Kristen,
So I'm just going to look at this now, actually, which I sent out last week. I hope you guys had to look at some of the information I sent out on it. I could generally go over the basics of it, but I also had Jaded, who's on the Zoom meet with me as well, who's an executive there. And I met with him, he has more detailed information on how it works. So generally, it's a way of opening the line of communication between local government and citizens. All this recently implemented on the website. I think if you're really interested in kind of experiencing what it's like, is to go to their website, to opt in, to get their notifications, and then kind of get an idea of what they send out. What this includes is, finding information, like the agenda, meeting time and date, the events happening, notifications, closures, all of that, things of that nature. Then you can send alerts, we can create surveys. So I think it's a really useful tool for citizens to have access to, because it's all via text. And I feel like today people rely so heavily on text rather than going to website, bulletin board, social media, text is fast, effective, efficient. It's like quick. You need information right away. I also reached out to the city clerk at Wallace to get an idea of what her experience has been like, because this is a smaller city. Their population is actually less than others. And some of the things she said, she was saying was great to eliminate issues like, and people saying we weren't notified of something. We weren't notified of a meeting, a hearing. They can create flyers. And we can distribute during the council meetings and P&Z. It also helped them combat things that they were not getting word out on things or not being transparent. They have everything on the website as well, but she felt that you can't be getting a text right away to your phone. And she also, when dealing with TextMyGov, they do trainings. So they do a series of 4 trainings, about an hour each. Hopefully they're very simple. She said they're really easy to work with. They're always supportive of questions that they have. They always offer additional training. So she felt it was really effective for the city. It was like a good, again, resourceful tool to use on both ends for the city and for citizens. To put that out there, because I had a meeting with them, and I thought maybe it might be something to consider. In that packet as well, there's actually proposal, which gives like a breakdown of the amounts. The cost. The cost can be negotiated. This is something that you would want to pursue. So these numbers are not completely set in stone. They can be, the proposal can be made and definitely brought to them and they can get that. So I will allow these numbers a second. That's what we're talking about.
Who manages this after? Let's say we pull the trigger and do this, who does?
Well, I can have Jaden, he's on, so he's the account executive. Jaden?
Yeah, hey, hello. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions for you guys. I've got plenty of different examples, use cases from other cities. I can go over the functionality of the program, whatever you guys need me to do, Kristen.
Guys have any questions about-
How many other cities are doing this in North Idaho?
Northern Idaho, it's a little bit more sparse. So the city of Wallace is the first one that comes to mind, and then the city of McCall. We do have a lot of different agencies, varying in sizes across Southeast Idaho as well. So it comes out to be around 30 different municipal offices across the state that are using the system. Nationwide, we're working with just over 1,000.
And who manages this once we, let's say we decide we wanted to do this?
Mhm.
Who does the day-to-day tasks taking care of this?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a resource. We'll do majority of the setup for you guys. We provide unlimited training, support, and then unlimited users for you guys. So it's a tool for you guys, just like you post on Facebook or on your website, right? You guys can send out text alerts to your residents. So if that's something that Kristen handles, or if anyone on the council wants to have access to send out alerts, it's kind of up to you guys. I've seen it structured and managed different ways per city. But I think at the end of the day, Kristen has seen a little bit of the back end. It's really easy to use. I would say it's almost easier than sending out an email, to be honest with you. Cool thing about that is a text can be sent out at a mass level from any device with a web browser. So it doesn't require any additional hardware or software on your end to manage or use.
Any kind of questions for Jaden?
How do you get signups for this?
Yeah.
You send a text blast, but unless you have a list.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question, Daniel. So we have a couple different ways, and what we've really tried to do is just make it as user-friendly as possible, both for staff and the residents. Kristen, do they have that packet in front of them by chance?
They do.
They do?
Well,
So I
actually.
We have it.
So I think it's on the 4th and 5th page. We provide you guys marketing materials. So the first one I like to preface is we give you guys a little website widget. It's really simple for a resident to sign up. They can just simply click opt in on this little widget, type in their phone number, and then they would receive a text automatically on their phone. From there, they just reply yes, and then they're good to go. Another thing we do is we provide you guys flyers. So this is especially helpful posting on social media or posting around the city. Again, that's on the 4th page there. And it's as simple as them just texting in a keyword. So it could just be as simple as Hauser to a 5-digit short code number, and that would start that same process, just asking if they want to sign up. The third option we can look at is if you guys are interested, we can always import any pre-existing lists of phone numbers you guys may have. Another option we've done for a lot of cities is we can also look at providing you guys a local phone number and address database if you guys are looking for a bigger return on investment day one. Our database is sourced from the Postal Service is typically where it comes from. They're updating it monthly. You guys own that data, and we can help you guys reach more residents day one. So that answer your question all right, Daniel?
Yeah, thank you.
So, I'm looking at the money side of it, so it says $1,000 setup fee, first year is 3,000, and then recurring after that is 2,000.
That's correct. So a total of 3,000 the first year, 2,000 every year after that. That is including our premium package. So we also give you guys access to create surveys. We give you guys additional marketing material. And then another cool user feature is it'll actually integrate with your Facebook. So you can send out text alerts and post to Facebook all in one spot, just to make it a little easier for whoever's sending out announcements.
Any other questions? Anybody? Well, this is kind of the first we've seen of this, Jaden, so we're gonna need to kind of mull it over and figure out if this is something we want to do. So I appreciate you sitting in through our whole entire meeting.
You know, I'm in Utah, so it's a little late for me. It's about bedtime, but I'm happy to be here, and I just appreciate you guys having me. I'll say again, just to kind of back Kristen up, we are flexible on that first year if you guys want to look at that. And I'm always happy to do additional demonstrations, kind of diving into the back end, kind of showing how it's actually used. I think, if you guys saw that, it's really not too hard to manage on a day to day. So, but yeah, if there's no other questions, I really appreciate your time.
What's different than this than Everbridge?
This is just focused on texting. So I know Everbridge has a whole plethora of different applications. The big thing is Everbridge will do a lot of the one-way texting like we do. That's not uncommon. What's really different about TextMyGov is a resident can text in a question and it'll automatically reply to them, almost acting as a 24/7 secretary. Whatever the information is they're looking for. It could be, hey, how do I get a building application? What are the ordinances? It could even link them directly to where the ordinance are, or if you guys post those on your website. I heard that mentioned. The other part of the program is it can take in reports, and this is just from the simplicity of someone's cell phone. So if someone sees a code violation or maybe a pothole or, whatever it is, a concern of some sort, they can also text that and it'll collect specific information you guys need. And then it'll send it off to the corresponding or directed staff member or department which needs to see it. So that's really where we're a lot different. It's really helped a lot of smaller municipalities, that maybe don't have a ton of full-time staff and such. So
But all that information has to be updated after every meeting.
it depends on the question, right? Like if we're talking about like maybe someone tries to find the agenda, right? We could link them to the general spot where all those are found, or we could link them, if someone did want to update that monthly, they could kind of do that too. But our team is pretty solid at setting those up in a way that it's going to be pretty hands off once it's set up. So
I think it's an LLM base.
sorry, say again.
Are you using an LLM to do all that stuff?
I'm sorry, Daniel. I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Are you using AI to do that then on the back end?
On the back end, initially, we'll use AI to pull based off, we call them keywords, the keyword it's looking for in the question they ask. So we'll use an AI tool. It's kind of like a web crawler tool to pull all these different links. And then during setup, through those 4 trainings, we go over those with the staff member that's going to be managing it, just to refine those and make sure they're good to go. From there, you guys have the ability to edit those, add new ones as needed. So.
Okay.
Mhm.
Right, thank you, Jaden.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. I hope you guys have a good night. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Anything else, Kristen?
No.
All right.
All right, well, semi-active month, we had a couple issues with some trees that I am still kind of unsure of whether they're on our property or not. Whether there's a potential damage or not. Cindy was gonna confirm that. I didn't really hear back, but that we may need to get an arborist out, maybe not. So we're waiting on confirmation to see If we have dangerous trees on city property, they're on somebody else's property, not our problem. Mapping, last year, we went from the Idaho State Legislature and its infinite wisdom, went from areas of city impact that are very well established, work very well known, to changing the criteria of those to just areas of impact. So AI doesn't just stand for artificial intelligence now, it stands for area of impact. It's essentially the new ACI, different ACI criteria. Speaking with the county, what we're proposing is submitting a new map. In essence, deleting, I want to say, between 10 and 15 acres of property on our southern boundary of the ACI, which we were in a semi-tiff with the city of Post Falls over, and getting rid of one ITD property for this interchange with the overpass. But in essence, keeping the rest of our original ACI boundary that we negotiated, 3 or 4 years ago. We went through a very big exercise to do that. And speaking with David Callahan, the Cleveland County Community Development Director, along with the Chief Civil Deputy for Cleveland County, I don't think anybody wants to really upset the apple cart. When we were getting ready to submit new boundaries, looking at the boundaries, Post Falls had encroached 15 to 20 acres, and we were getting ready to go to war with them over that. But the real question is in essence, the city doesn't really have a realistic expectation to annex south of Highway 53 anytime soon, absent, I mean, certainly we can. If the stars aligned and people wanted to develop and they wanted to develop in Hauser and they wanted to do it quick, we could make that happen. That's part of the reason why people like to deal with the city instead of the county, which is why we have the rigid Hauser. Because developers, when they want to move and they want to move quick, they can deal with city staff a lot easier than county bureaucracy. In essence, we work between administrations, and the resolve was we'll both pull our ACIs back out of that contested area and let the property owners, if either city ever gets to them first, decide whether they want to be annexed into whatever city touches them first, instead of going to World War VI over an ACI boundary that's really not either city's boundary at the time. It's one of those pick and choose your battles kind of thing. And then when there's no conflict with Post Falls, that really greases things to have things go through the county commission, which has to approve each city within the county's a new area of impact.
So, I understand the part about, the dispute with, Post Falls and your recommendation there. What I'm not completely understanding is the state made this change from ACI to AI. And the county has the authority to revise it, or does it have to go to the state? And I thought our ACI was reduced under the AI, and now we're trying to get some of that area back. And did I misunderstand that?
Well, the criteria is different. And if I was going to get into, I can give you a class on it, but we'll probably be here for like 2 hours. For example, one of the original criteria under the ACI was natural resources of the area. That's out. That's the reason we have.
All going up.
Yeah, the watershed.
It's out.
No, actually, it's still in, because guess what? You have a good lawyer, and if you're a good lawyer, talk to the powers that be, and we worked hard on this ACI. And so if
So who gets to say, okay, it's back in? It's not the state, it's county.
it's not out right now. We have until December 31st to negotiate an area of impact.
With who?
With the county has to approve it.
County has to approve it, then it goes to the state.
Well, once the county approves, it's just approved.
Okay, so the county has the final decision on what
Right.
our ACI ends up being.
Right, and that's the reason and Post Falls saw the same thing,
Yeah.
because if Hauser and Post Falls are in a big tip, the county commission has to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that holds up both cities' areas.
Okay.
Right? If Hauser's not in a fight with Post Falls, and Post Falls is not in a fight with Hauser, everybody's kumbaya, here's their map, here's our map, there's no problems.
Okay.
And the county staff has already said that they are amenable to Hauser keeping its ACI as is with those two
Okay.
kind of little tweaks I just told you. And it's on the south side of Highway 53. It's about 15-20 acres. If you want me to get
Now
down,
I've seen, I understand. So now.
it's like a little triangle of probably 3 or 4 properties.
Okay, so I understand that, and it's, what I didn't understand was that the county has kind of final say.
Yeah, that's the law is that cities within counties have to get their areas of impact approved by the county commission. And that's why Post Falls is bringing it to them. That's why we're bringing it to them. We've been dealing with this issue since February, March-ish. On one of my bills a couple months ago, you'll see, a lunch or 2 expense. That was me meeting with, the city attorney and the city administrator for Post Falls and, kind of hashing out, does Hauser really want this? Give it to us. Well, it's like, well, does Post Falls really want it? Leave us alone. We're gonna grab it, over my dead body, you're gonna grab it.
It was already ours.
And so, in essence, the resolution was, we'll pull ours back. Because they were gonna grab it, they're gonna pull theirs back and it's gonna be nobody's. It's kind of like dealing with 2 kids. If y'all are fighting over the same toy, neither of you get it. Right? That was the resolution.
Talking, county fighting yet. They basically said, if we're not fighting, we'll leave our area the same. So we're giving up
Nothing.
15 acres of property that we're probably never gonna be able to get to anyways. To keep everything else the same.
In the process, procedure and schedule for the county to finalize that.
It has to move before December, but the county staff is gonna approve it, which means if it's recommended for approval, it goes into council. Think of what it would happen if we recommended for this. Clerk recommended, Cindy recommended, I recommended. Is there gonna be a lot of discussion? It's probably gonna be the same thing with the county commission. But I've already talked to all the county staff that has input at their highest levels, and they're good.
Okay. Because
They don't want to redo what we just spent. Both the city and the county spent $1 gazillion and a ton of time on.
Public
doing it.
hearings.
Everybody is happy with the boundary. So God bless Boise, but we all play nice in the sandbox, at least on this issue. Expect that to come in the next month as an action item. To approve the map, it's gonna be to approve the same ordinance. It's gonna change from area of city impact to area of impact. I've got to tweak it, so expect at least one semi-big bill for me because our actual ACI ordinance is like 20 pages.
Read that.
What's that?
We'll make sure.
No, it's gonna be almost the same, but we have to change different words in different places, but it's, so long as it's the same, the county's saying we're good. And the county's not gonna take that responsibility on to tweak it. They're saying it's the city's responsibility to submit it to us
Which is,
by December 31st. But I have to go through like a 20-page ACI ordinance and make it an AI ordinance and look through the new law and change certain words in certain places, but it's in essence going to be the same thing. And they're willing to consult with us within our area of impact and et cetera, et cetera. I think we, touched on the, RIZR settlement offer. I'll communicate with their council that their, offer of settlement is respectfully rejected. The city's gonna go with its judgment. A month or two ago, I reported that there was a Supreme Court lawsuit between certain jurisdictions and in Coogan County over back taxes and fees, interest. We stayed out of it. Because in all reality, cities like Post Falls and Fort Wayne and Katy were owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. When they did analysis on the city of Hauser, we were owed like, yeah, less than $500, which is why I didn't jump in that lawsuit on behalf of the city. Working with the mayor, we sent a demand letter to the county saying, give us our money or else we'll sue you. They said, we're gonna do it. I just got an email between a couple of the other attorneys, the county treasurer, county commissioners, county attorney, and in essence, we can expect some kind of check by the end of this month. But again, that's the pick and choose your battles. I would have loved to send you, a couple $1,000 bill to travel to Boise, argue in front of the Supreme Court over $458. But I didn't.
And in the course of all that, those cities that are due those big checks also got interest on the money that the town held. And our interest was $30 or something. So, but like Kendall was saying, the money that the county withheld was like 1.1 million. After fines and after interest, it's 1.9 million. Yeah. And we get $258.
So here's the deal. It really has to do with, how many citizens are either derelicts or just down in your jurisdiction. Luckily, we have citizens that pay their property. But if you have a couple thousand citizens that are a year or two behind on their property taxes and they pay in their accruing interest, and you know what, people don't pay their taxes for so many reasons. And I'm not saying everybody doesn't, I'm just saying it depends on how many people are in essence behind on the property taxes in whatever jurisdiction you're in. It didn't even affect just the cities. I mean, it's highway districts, fire districts, water districts, but what the county did was it said, you know what, when these people pay late, we're not going to pay you out the late charges and the interest. We're keeping it at the county level. And so for the city of Hauser, it does, to us, it would be offensive, certainly, but it's not worth, we're going to take you to court over. But when when it's, 3 or 4 or 5 employees' salaries over a year worth, at that point, plus attorney's fees, then it's worth going. Anyway,
You let them all go to battle.
that's kind of exactly what happened. Had a couple questions on the propriety of, or the process of correcting, council minutes, but that was a pretty short process. Other than that, does anybody have any questions? Well, Mr. Mayor, that's my report.
Sir, public comments. This is an opportunity to address any concerns not on the agenda. No formal action is allowed. There is a 3-minute time limit.
Me?
No.
No. I'm not going to speak tonight.
Comments regarding any performance of the city employees are inappropriate at this time and should be directed. Who would like to?
Me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, couple questions.
What's your name? What's your
Robin
name?
Broadhead. Yeah. It would be so nice if, Kinza was on the mic too. We missed a lot of what he said back here and I'm not hard of hearing. Can he be on a mic?
We used to have a portable mic.
Yeah, we used to have one.
I don't know where that went.
Maybe those guys must have been working. I said, why is the
We'll look into that.
Great. Next, can I ask one of my question?
You only get one. I'm kidding you.
Well, on this new text my government, I mean, first thing that comes to mind for me is that's kind of a lot of money, and how do you recoup it? It's a free service, right, to the citizens of Hauser? Okay. Well, why couldn't our own website be beefed up where people can go there and get these links he's talking about locally? It's just questions. And the other thing is, there was a gentleman who was here, the construction guy, and he made a comment to me, so I wanted to ask about it. Got a lawyer here. The garage is back here, and I call them carports that don't have doors. Why can't they be a source of revenue for the city? Monthly rental. Except for liability. And that, because he said they're empty, and I'm just wondering about that. I'm into revenue. I think that's it.
Well, the garages out back are not, the carports, the two carports are.
Okay.
But
I said they rent, so.
yeah, they're not.
Okay. Well, I was looking for ways to.
Sure.
And what else? The history of this litigation, I mean, as a citizen, do we need to know about that? And where do we find all of that that's going on with Hauser and,
Which litigation?
well, the one about we're not gonna take the offer of the 35,000 or something? Is that
I can
important?
give you the court case. It's a matter of public record at the courthouse.
Right,
Or I'll give you the case number.
I'm just curious.
Judgment early in the year, so I have to keep loading messages back to them. It's case number CV 28-24-4159, City of Hauser versus RIZR LLC.
And for the sake of my husband and the weather, he's miserable. The AC, because it's so hot, you just see you working all that great. It started early, so it's like, 62 degrees when we get here.
We started in
He did. Fall County. I think that's it. Oh, the land where you think about putting the gravel. How much land is that?
end of the street.
Huh?
The end of a street.
Oh, into the street.
And it's,
No, it's not 14 acres.
oh, no, we're talking the width of the street. And
Oh, okay.
a little bit wider.
That's it.
Anybody else?
I'm good.
Okay,
Sorry to keep you.
council comments, anybody? Seeing no further business in front of this council and no further objection, we are adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Lori, I hate to bother you. Lori, you want to,
What?
I was gonna let you turn it off, this time, if you want.
What do I do? I have like maybe
Oh, yeah.
he's on the end of the bob.
It's, you have to use the tablet, right? And then if you just move the mouse around, you'll see a thing, so you wanna go to end over there? On the bottom, yeah, on the bottom, whatever that is, bottom left,
The X, the little red X and.
little red X, yeah, yeah. And then say end meeting for all.